I wasn't out here looking for an excuse to end my marriage. Honestly, I thought things were alright. After 24 years with someone, you stop expecting fireworks. What you really hope for is some peace, a few laughs, and a warm cup of coffee in the morning. But that night at Rachel's high school reunion, something felt off. It wasn't obvious, just a strange feeling in my gut that whispered, "Hey, something's wrong here, man." And the more I looked into it, the uglier it got. Turned out she wasn't just cheating, she had multiple men on the side. I always figured stuff like that only happened in soap operas or late-night drama shows. But no, it was happening to me in real life. And believe it or not, I didn't blow up. I didn't call her out. Didn't yell, didn't accuse. I just kept calm, smiled, and made up my mind. If she could look me in the eyes and lie without flinching, I could match that silence with strategy. And a little surprise. By the time she realized I knew the truth, it was already too late. I gave her a birthday gift that night, one she opened in front of everyone. Her expression? Worth every quiet moment I spent planning. She never forgot that day. But the real twist? After everything went down, she showed up in my life again. Unexpected and a little too late. But I'll get to that. Let's back up to where it all began. Truth is, when Rachel brought up the reunion, I didn't exactly jump for joy. Nearly 2 decades of marriage had taught me when to look excited and when to just nod and keep my thoughts to myself. So I said, "Sure, sounds like fun," and left it there. She lit up like a kid on Christmas morning, started chattering about outfits, who might show up, hoping the food wouldn't be cheap finger sandwiches and room-temp wine. I listened, smiled when I should've, and figured this was gonna be one of those nights you push through for your spouse, maybe hit the drive-thru on the way home. We ended up arriving early. The event was being held at some fancy golf club a couple towns away. There were white tablecloths, that kind of jazzy music people pretend to enjoy, and a room full of adults hoping they wouldn't bump into their old high school crush. I hadn't gone to school with them, but after all these years I knew the stories, Rachel's friends, the pep rallies, even that fortune-telling English teacher with the wig. She really did look great that night, I'll give her that. She wore the soft green dress with a slit up the side. Not too much, just enough to turn a few heads. Her hair was curled like she used to do back in the day, and she had on the earrings I gave her for our 9th anniversary. On the drive there, she kept checking her reflection, asking if her lipstick looked okay. I told her she looked beautiful. She smiled, touched my arm, and for a second I thought, hey, maybe tonight won't be so bad after all. We stepped inside and were instantly swallowed up by the crowd. People were hugging her left and right, lots of "Oh my God, you look amazing," and "You haven't aged a day." I stepped back and let her have her spotlight. I've never been great at small talk, especially not with folks who only know me as Rachel's husband. Things started off normal. I grabbed a drink and hovered near the punch bowl. They had those little party trays, cheese cubes, crackers, so I fixed myself a plate and people watched. Everyone was trying to pretend like they were still 17. Rachel worked the room like a pro, hugging, laughing, swapping memories. I watched from across the room, sipping my drink, soaking it all in. That's when I saw it. At first, it was subtle. The way she leaned in too close when she spoke to certain men. How her hand lingered on someone's arm just a beat too long. Her laugh changed too, lighter, flirtier. Now, Rachel's always been a people person, but this felt different. Like I was seeing a version of her I didn't know. There was one guy, Kevin, I think looked like your typical ex-football player. He threw his arm around her shoulders during a group photo, and she didn't pull away. Instead, she leaned in like it was no big deal. Later, they stood off to the side, deep in conversation. She laughed and put her hand on his chest, fingers spread across his shirt like it was second nature. My stomach turned cold, but I didn't flinch. I just kept sipping, watching. And it wasn't just Kevin. There were 2, maybe 3 others. One guy wore a beat-up varsity jacket like he couldn't let go of senior year. Another was this slick-looking type, all charm and secrets. Each time, Rachel transformed. Her voice got higher, her posture changed, she giggled like a teenager. At one point, I watched her trace the rim of her wine glass with her finger while talking to a man I didn't recognize. The look she gave him? That wasn't the look you give someone from study hall. No one else seemed to notice. Or maybe they just didn't care. But I noticed. I couldn't look away. The room faded, and all I could see was her. Like I was watching a one-woman show with a new male co-star every 5 minutes. And each time I blinked, she acted like I wasn't even there. Like I didn't exist. She came over once, handed me a little plate of shrimp cocktail, kissed me on the cheek, and asked if I was having fun. I said I was and smiled like nothing was wrong. Then she turned and disappeared back into the crowd. Right back into whatever she was pretending this night meant. That smile I wore stayed glued to my face. But deep down, something inside me cracked wide open. And listen, I'm not the jealous type. Never have been. I don't sneak around, I don't go through phones or snoop in drawers. But I do pay attention. And what I saw that night, it was just the beginning. I've always been the kind of guy who notices patterns. And that night, I caught something I wish I hadn't. She looked like a woman who forgot her husband was standing just a few feet away. And there I was, her husband, just watching as she acted like our vows were ancient history, like the years we spent building a life and raising our kids never even happened. I didn't confront her, didn't pull her aside, didn't ask, what the hell was that about? That's not how I operate. What hit me in that moment wasn't rage. It felt more like something inside me quietly disconnected. Like a circuit tripped and shut the emotion off. My pulse stayed calm. My hands didn't tremble. I just stood there, drink in hand, letting the reality of it all settle in. By the time the night ended, she was radiant. Laughing with old friends near the coat rack, swapping kid photos, and making empty plans for coffee dates. Then she turned to me with a bright smile and said, "Let's head out." I gave a small nod and opened the door for her. The drive home was all her. Chatting about who'd aged gracefully, who looked overdone, how time was flying. I just stared at the road ahead like it was stretching out into a whole new future. I barely said a word, just the occasional huh or that's wild. She didn't seem to notice, and if she did, she didn't let on. We rolled into the driveway around midnight. She slipped off her heels, let out a sigh and said, "That was fun." Then she added, "We should do stuff like that more often." I nodded again. She hummed her way upstairs. I didn't follow. Instead, I dropped onto the couch, stared at the black screen of the TV, and thought, something's off. I couldn't quite name it, but I knew I had to dig deeper. Sleep didn't come easy that night. She curled up beside me like nothing was wrong, drifting off without a care. Meanwhile, my brain was tearing through the night's memories, analyzing everything like a mechanic listening for an engine knock. The next morning, as she sang in the shower, I sat at the kitchen table with a cooling cup of coffee, staring straight through it. Something inside me was certain this wasn't a fluke. The way she looked at those guys, the comfort in her eyes, it wasn't new. It looked like second nature. That's when I made the call. Back when I worked maintenance at the mill, I knew a guy who used to do quiet side jobs for HR background checks, that sort of thing. Quiet type. Always wore those dull gray shirts, didn't waste words. His name's Travis. Took a bit, but I dug up his number and left a message. Kept it simple. Told him I needed someone who could be discreet and professional. He got back to me a couple hours later. We agreed to meet the next night, out at this Silver Creek diner. One of those places where the waitresses call you Han, and the floors are still checkered black and white. Travis arrived right on the dot. Thin guy, clean cut, those kind of sharp gray eyes that don't blink much. No laptop, no notes, just sat down and listened. I told him I had a bad feeling about my wife. Said something in her had changed, and I needed to know if it was all in my head or if there was something real to uncover. He nodded like he'd heard it 1,000 times. "She got a routine?" he asked. "Work? Errands?" "Yeah," I said. "Teaches part-time at the Maplewood Activity Hall. Gym on Mondays and Thursdays. Sees her girlfriends some weekends." Then he looked at me sideways. "You ever check the mileage on her car?" That question hit me like a hammer. "Hadn't." "Might be worth a look," he said. That's when I knew I had the right guy. He gave me a list, license plate, schedule, photos of any guys I suspected. I gave him everything I had and said I'd fill in the blanks later. "She won't know I exist," he promised. 2, maybe 3 weeks, depending on how cautious she was. I paid him in cash, tucked the receipt into the glove box, and went home like nothing had changed. But everything felt different. After that, I watched Rachel like someone studying a stranger. She still laughed at cheesy sitcoms, folded laundry on the couch, and messaged her friends like usual, but I saw it all through a new lens. Suddenly, the small stuff felt loud. The way she giggled at her phone. How long it took her to grab groceries. Her stories that didn't always add up. I kept quiet. Played the fool. I was damn good at it. "I'm running to the store," she'd say, keys already in hand. "Want me to come along?" I'd ask, already knowing the answer. No, just a quick trip. Be right back. And sometimes she'd come home with a grocery bag full of stuff. Other times, just a bottle of wine and a flimsy excuse. I started checking the odometer when she wasn't looking. Things didn't line up. The store's a 4-mile loop. Her car showed 12. I kept mental notes. Never wrote anything down. I wasn't about to leave a trail. 10 days in, Travis delivered his first update. No text, no email, just a manila envelope tucked under a tarp in the back of my truck. Old school, but smart. I waited till late, snuck into the garage, turned off the engine, shut the door, opened it under the dim red beam of a flashlight. And what I saw inside that envelope, well, that was just the beginning. Her car was parked outside a roadside hotel just off the interstate. The timestamp on the photo made it impossible to deny it was her, no question. Another photo showed her sitting across from a man in a Brookhaven cafe, laughing like it was their little world. Same guy she hugged a little too long at the reunion. Travis wasn't guessing, he had it all. Names, times, places. He even dug up where the guy lived, what kind of car he drove, and how long they'd been crossing paths. But then came the real punch to the gut. It wasn't just him. There were 3. Yeah, 3 different men. All familiar names. High school boyfriends. College flings. Faces from her stories I never paid much attention to, just blurry names from the before me years. Only turns out they weren't ancient history. These guys were still orbiting her life. Still close enough for coffee dates, private conversations, and those quick errands when I was either at work or out of town. One of them even had a photo of the 2 of them framed, sitting on a shelf behind his couch like it meant something. And Rachel? According to Travis's notes, she'd been regularly seeing at least one of them for years. He didn't spell out how deep it went. He didn't have to. I already knew. I sat alone in the garage, flashlight in hand, clicking it on and off and on again. That soft plastic click was the only sound in the room. I didn't break down. Didn't shout. It was like someone had unplugged my insides, no more power going to my heart. 24 years. 2 kids. A home we literally built brick by brick. And somehow, through all that time, she'd kept a part of herself stashed away for someone else. Like I was her quiet landing place. Her safe zone. But not where her heart really lived. That night, I climbed into bed beside her just like always. She was already out cold, sleeping like a stone. I stared up at the ceiling, watched the fan blades twist shadows around the room, and quietly said to myself, all right. Now I know. From that point on, I became 2 people. On the outside, I was still the same husband, still showing up, still playing the part. But inside, I was quietly packing up my life and stepping away one piece at a time. I didn't cause waves. Didn't miss dinner. Still folded socks next to her on laundry night. Still helped write the grocery list. Still talked about what we should do with the backyard come spring. But behind the curtain, I was slowly dismantling everything we built and rebuilding a version without her in it. The first thing I did was find a lawyer. Not one of those big-time, flashy folks on billboards. I needed someone low-key but razor-sharp. A buddy from the volunteer firehouse gave me a name, said she handled his brother's split and left no loose ends. That's the kind of lawyer I wanted. We met in a small office tucked above a bakery. She wore jeans, kept her hair in a ponytail, and jotted notes on a yellow legal pad like she was solving a puzzle. I gave her the short version, told her I had proof, told her I wasn't looking to blow anything up. I just wanted it done right. She nodded. We can do this clean, she said. But we've gotta move smart. Quiet. That was music to my ears. She laid it all out step by step. How to ease away from joint finances, what paperwork to copy, how to secure my rights without tipping Rachel off. I handed her the first envelope, Travis's report. She flipped through it, nodded once, and filed it away like it was just another Tuesday. Then she started drawing up the divorce papers. No theatrics. No dramatic wording. Just the truth, plain and cold. She told me she'd keep everything under wraps until I gave the word. Let me know when you're ready, she said. I shook her hand and walked out of that office feeling like I'd signed up for a quiet war. From there, I began separating things little by little. I opened a new checking account in my name only. Quietly moved half of what we had in savings. Nothing shady, just clean and legal. Then I rented a P.O. box on the far edge of town and redirected anything financial to it. I didn't mess with retirement yet, but I made notes. I also pulled my credit report to see just how tangled our lives were. Turns out, very. Mortgage, credit cards, the truck loan, all shared. I called up our insurance guy and said I wanted to review our policies, just to prep for retirement. He didn't press me, just sent everything over. Each night, I took the new documents and tucked them into a box marked old tax records. Slid it beneath the workbench in the garage. Rachel never touched that area. Said it reeked of oil and gave her migraines. Perfect. After work, I started taking the long way home. Said I needed time to think. Or that I had to swing by the hardware store. In reality, I was checking out rentals. I didn't want anything flashy. Just a quiet spot where I could land on my feet. I eventually found a 2-bedroom condo nestled behind a patch of pines on the outskirts of town. Small porch, walking trail view, peaceful. The landlord was a retired guy named Walter who liked fishing and didn't pry. We clicked right away. I told him I was making some life changes. Needed a fresh start. Handed him the deposit in cash and asked him not to put my name on the mailbox. At least not yet. In my mind, I'd already set the place up. Nothing fancy, just the essentials. A recliner angled toward the window so I could catch the afternoon sun. A modest stand holding up the TV, a reliable coffee pot, my old cast iron skillet, and a little 2-seater table for quiet meals. I figured I'd haul over my toolbox, a couple shelves of books, and maybe hang a few framed fishing photos I'd kept boxed up in the garage. That would have been enough. Simple. Back at the house, though, I kept the act going. I'd sit and listen while Rachel rambled on about her coworkers, her new gym routine, her friend's upcoming anniversary getaway. I'd nod, smile when I should, even gave her a shoulder rub when she said her neck felt stiff. Then one night, she told me I seemed a bit distant lately. I told her work had been weighing on me. She nodded without digging, kissed me on the cheek and said, "Let me know if there's anything I can do." I almost let out a laugh, but I didn't. I just said, "Sure, I will." I started sleeping lighter. Every creak in the floors, every shift of the walls. I heard it all. It wasn't paranoia. I was just alert. My phone had a new passcode, something only I'd know. I created a hidden folder deep in my laptop, where I stashed scanned copies of every piece of evidence I'd collected. Travis, the guy helping me, kept feeding me updates, but only through dead drops. I burned through more than a few manila folders and polished off a bottle of bourbon, reading the same awful truths over and over again. She was still seeing them. Not regularly, not by any set plan, but it was often enough. And one name kept popping up more than the rest. They'd meet at diners, parks. One time, it was a riverside lodge in Halewood. I stopped looking at the pictures after a while. The first handful had been enough. I wasn't angry anymore. That ship had sailed. And I wouldn't say I was heartbroken either. Not at that point. I was settled. That's the only word that fits. Like something deep inside me finally stood up and said, "All right, that's enough." So I began handling the little things. Quietly, forwarded a few key emails to my new address. Started sorting the tools in the garage, mine on one side, shared stuff left in the middle. Small changes, barely noticeable, but each one was a whisper. I'm almost gone. Our kids were grown now, out building their own lives. I didn't want to drag them into this. Not yet. They still saw us as the solid ones. The couple who made it. Strong. Unshakable. I figured there'd come a time to explain everything. But that moment hadn't arrived. Not until all my pieces were in place. No room for loose ends. Rachel booked a weekend getaway for the two of us. Some coastal lodge in Fairview. I think she was trying to believe we were still okay. I told her it sounded great, agreed to go. Then, a few days before, I canceled the reservation and blamed it on a last-minute work call. She didn't push back. Didn't question why I'd gone quieter. She just chalked it up to stress. And to be fair, she wasn't wrong. I was stressed, but it had nothing to do with my job. It was the kind of pressure that comes from digging a grave, not for a person but for a marriage. And like any burial worth doing, it needed to be slow and precise. One careful shovel at a time. Rachel's 45th birthday landed on a Saturday, right in early September. The kind of day where you crack the windows for a breeze, but still sip hot coffee just to keep warm. She always downplayed her own birthdays, said she didn't care for the fuss. But the truth? She loved every bit of it. The cards, the attention, the people gathered around just for her. So I gave her all of it. A packed house. I invited everyone. Zoe flew in from out of state. Dylan made the drive up from the city. Rachel's sister came with her husband and her parents arrived right on time carrying deviled eggs and a cooler stocked with sparkling water. The living room filled up with the smell of roast beef and lemon-scented candles. I even dragged out the folding chairs and hung up a cheap little happy birthday banner above the fireplace. To her, it probably felt like love. To me, it was staging, setting the scene. One final performance. I kept everything light and friendly. Wore a crisp blue button-down. Played some oldies on the Bluetooth speaker. Laughed at the kids' stories like everything was fine. We had lunch, opened gifts, snapped a few photos. Rachel smiled the whole way through. Like the last few months had never happened. She wore the soft pink blouse and the gold hoops she always saved for special occasions. She looked at ease. Confident. Like she still believed we were on the same page. That part stung the most, how effortlessly she breezed through the day, never missing a beat. Zoe had made this photo album, Mom's Moments. Pages full of beach days, birthdays, soccer games. Rachel flipped through it slowly, getting misty-eyed at the toddler photos. Then she looked across the room at me and smiled like we were still a team. I smiled back. The cake was her favorite, lemon layer, white frosting, just the right amount of zest. I'd picked it up that morning from a bakery near the fire station. Had them write happy birthday, Rachel, in that fancy cursive they always use. We sang terribly, all of us, and she blew out the candles in one long, steady breath. Everyone clapped. And that's when I stood up. Thank you all for being here, I said. Calm. Even. I know it means a lot to Rachel to have everyone close. She glanced up at me, just slightly puzzled, like she wasn't sure what I was about to say next. And neither was I. But one thing was certain. That birthday wasn't just a celebration. It was the beginning of the end. I reached down beside the couch and pulled out a slim manila folder of felt thick, like the kind used for legal stuff. I've got something for you, hon, I said, leaning forward to hand it to her across the coffee table. She took it, smiling like she thought it was a birthday card or maybe some sweet little gesture. She flipped it open, casual as ever, like it was nothing. But the second she read that first page, her smile vanished. The whole room went dead quiet. It felt like someone hit mute on everything except the faint hum of the fridge coming from the kitchen. She just stared at the paper, blinking slow. Then she glanced up at me, let out this weird little laugh, nervous, kind of airy. Okay, very funny. What is this? She asked. This some kind of joke? No joke, I told her, steady. She looked back down at the documents. Confused at first, then stunned. You're divorcing me? On my birthday? Her voice cracked a little. I nodded once. That's right. Her sister gasped. Dylan shifted in his chair like he wasn't sure if he should stand or sit back down. Zoe just stared at her mom, frozen in place. I slipped my hand into my jacket and pulled out a second folder, Travis's report. The whole thing. Full breakdown. Names, dates, receipts, hotel check-ins. Phone calls. Camera footage from parking lots. Every ugly truth laid out clear as day. I placed that second folder beside the first. Rachel didn't even reach for it. She didn't need to. The sound of my voice told her everything she needed to know. You could see it hit her, all of it, like she'd been punched in the gut. Her eyes jumped around the room, wild, searching for some kind of escape. I don't get it. This isn't what it looks like, she stammered. Dylan was the first to break the silence. Mom, seriously, his voice was low. Heavy. Zoe stood up slow. Didn't say a word. She just walked out. Then the front door shut behind her, quiet but final. Rachel's face broke apart and her voice dropped to a whisper. Please, she said, reaching toward me, we can talk. Just not like this. Not here. But it was too late for talking. The papers were already signed. The choices had been made. The truth was out there now, no masks left to wear. Her father cleared his throat, looked like he wanted to say something. But her mother stopped him with a shake of the head. Her sister sat frozen, wide-eyed, gripping her drink like it was the only thing tethering her to reality. Rachel tried again. You planned this? With everyone here? I nodded slowly. You didn't give me honesty in private. So now you get the truth in public. She opened her mouth, like she had something to say, but nothing came out. Just a soft, shaky exhale like the wind had been knocked clean out of her. Dylan stood up. His fists were clenched, not in anger, but like he was trying to physically keep it together. He looked over at me. You all right, Dad? I gave him a small nod. Yeah, I'm okay. Then he turned to look at his mom. Silent, unreadable, and walked out right behind Zoe. Rachel collapsed onto the couch like her body couldn't hold itself up anymore. I turned to her family. I'd like a moment alone with her. No one argued. They filed out quietly, no goodbyes, no glances back. Just that stunned silence you get when something breaks that can't be fixed. When the door clicked shut, she looked up at me, eyes red and rimmed with tears. "You could have just talked to me," she said, voice trembling. "I did," I replied. "You just didn't hear me. I didn't think." "No," I cut in. "You didn't." She crossed her arms, then dropped them again like she couldn't decide what to do with herself. "So, that's it? You're just throwing it all away?" "It was already gone," I said quietly. "You just didn't notice." She stared at the folder, the one with Travis's photos peeking out from inside. "I never thought you'd find out," she murmured. "I know." The hallway clock ticked like a drum in the silence. After her family left, the house went still. Rachel just stood there, fidgeting like she didn't know what to do with her hands. The cake sat untouched on the counter. A few plates waited in the sink. Folding chairs were still pulled out like the ghosts of the party were stuck there. She looked smaller somehow, not physically, just deflated, like all the air had left her body. I didn't say a word. Then finally, she broke the silence. "You blindsided me." I gave a quiet nod. "I know. You humiliated me. I gave you the truth," I said, plain and steady. She eased down onto the edge of the couch, both folders sitting there on the coffee table in front of her. Her fingers touched the corner of the one with Travis's report, but she didn't flip it open. I don't think she could. Then her voice cracked. "It didn't mean anything. None of it." I let her words sit in the air for a second. Just let them hang. "That's funny," I finally said, my voice calm but cutting, because from where I was standing, it seemed like it meant enough for you to lie, to hide it, not just once, for years. She leaned forward and dropped her face into her hands. The tears came slow at first, quiet, ragged breaths like she was trying to hold herself together. But this wasn't about what was happening in that moment. It was about the weight of everything finally crashing down. Years of secrets unraveling all at once. "I felt invisible," she mumbled through her fingers. "You stopped paying attention to me. You got so caught up in work, in everything. I didn't know how to talk to you anymore. I didn't move, just stood there, arms crossed, listening. No yelling, no shaking my head." I let her speak. "We can fix this," she said suddenly, lifting her head. Her eyes were red and glassy. "We've come too far to just walk away. We've got too much history." I walked over and sat in the chair across from her, keeping my tone steady, calm. "Rachel," I said, "you already found your fix. It just wasn't with me." Her lips parted like she was about to argue, but whatever she wanted to say dissolved into more tears. She stood up, started pacing, rambling about all the reasons we should try again. The years together, the kids, the life we built. She even mentioned our wedding day, like dragging up a memory from the past would somehow make it all feel whole again. I didn't stop her, didn't argue, just watched as she unraveled right in front of me. "This isn't who I am," she said, desperate. I looked her straight in the eye. "It's exactly who you are," I told her. "You just never thought I'd find out." She shook her head, her voice cracking. "I didn't plan for this to happen. Things like this don't just happen," I said. "They happen because you let them. You opened the doors. You stepped across the line." She tried a different approach then, softer, more apologetic. "I messed up. I lost my way." I gave her a slow nod. "We all mess up," I said. "But I didn't go looking for someone else to fill the space. I stayed. I showed up. I asked you if everything was okay, and you told me it was." The room went quiet again. One of those silences that hangs thick in the air. She looked out the window like the streetlights might hold the answer she was missing. "I'll go to therapy," she whispered. "I'll cut everyone off. I'll do whatever you want." "I don't want anything from you," I said flatly. Her legs gave out under her and she sank back down onto the couch like the weight of it all was finally too much. I stood up, walked toward the hallway and paused. "I'm sleeping in the guest room," I said. "Don't come in. I need space." Her voice was barely audible. "Do you still love me?" I turned, looked at her. Really looked at her. I loved the person I thought you were, I said. But I don't know this version of you. That was it. I walked down the hall, shut the door behind me, and sat on the edge of the guest bed. The mattress was a little stiff and the blankets didn't match, but somehow it felt real. Honest. Like mine. I stared up at the ceiling, listening to the house breathe. I heard a drawer open in the kitchen. Heard her pacing the same floorboards I knew by heart. But I stayed still. She never knocked. Never called through the door. Didn't try to follow me. The next morning, I woke early, made a pot of coffee, and stood at the sink sipping it from my favorite mug. She came downstairs a little later. Eyes swollen, voice flat. "Good morning," she said like it was just another day. I didn't answer. Just grabbed my jacket, stepped outside, and sat in the truck. I called my lawyer before I even turned the key. "It's time," I said. She didn't ask why. She already knew. Told me she'd finish the filing by the afternoon and send over the final paperwork. That was the day I stopped being her husband in every way except on paper. We still lived in the same house for a while, shared the space in silence, our lives split down the middle like fault lines. She tried a few more times to talk, to say sorry, to pull me back. But I kept my distance. There wasn't anything to save. She hadn't just broken trust, she shattered the ground we built everything on. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry she got caught. And me? I was already gone. The court dates were on the calendar. I moved through the days like a machine, focused, calm, detached. Meanwhile, Rachel drifted through the house like a ghost. Like she didn't recognize the space anymore. She'd sit on the couch, scrolling through her phone, waiting for texts that weren't coming. Especially not from the kids. Zoe called the next day. Said she wanted to meet, just us. No one else. We sat down at this little cafe near the Riverwalk. It wasn't fancy. Chipped mugs, decent coffee, warm scones. She didn't ask for details. She'd seen the folder I handed her mom. She already knew. She just looked at me and asked, "Are you okay?" I told her the truth. "I will be." She nodded, tears brimming in her eyes. "I'm proud of you, Dad," she said. "You didn't yell. You didn't lose it. You just handled it." I didn't know what to say. So I reached across the table and took her hand. Squeezed it. Held on for a moment. Dylan took a little longer to reach out. 2 days later, my phone rang. No, hey, no small talk. Just, "Is it true?" "Yeah," I said. "I wish it wasn't." He didn't say anything at first. Just breathed like he'd taken a hit to the gut. "She really did that?" "She did." Another pause. Then he asked, "What do you need from me?" "Nothing," I told him. "Just take care of yourself. That's all I need." Tucked inside that folder was a letter from me, plain and to the point. I was fine with her keeping the house. But the Spruce Hollow cabin, the savings, and the truck? Those weren't on the table. Non-negotiable. It bounced back and forth for a few weeks, her side pushing, mine holding firm, but in the end, the judge saw it my way. She walked away with the house. I kept the truck, the cabin, and an even split of our retirement and joint accounts. The boat stayed with me too. But the cabin, that meant more to me than any house ever could. That was where my dad and I rebuilt the dock after a nasty storm back in 2013. Same spot where I pulled in the biggest smallmouth bass of my life. That cabin wasn't just wood and nails. It was my peace. My place. My anchor when the rest of life felt like a storm. And now it was my future. As for spousal support, the court set a fair monthly amount. Not too much. Not too little. I didn't contest it. I'm not out to ruin anyone's life. But I'm not naive either. She walked off with the bigger space, the newer appliances, most of the furniture. What I got was peace. And enough of a foundation to rebuild on. As for custody, there was nothing to settle. Zoe was 24. Dylan, 22. Grown enough to vote, work, rent their own places. Grown enough to decide for themselves who they still considered family. Rachel's parents reached out once. Wanted to talk like adults, figure things out. I kept it respectful but firm. I told them I was done talking. Her father just nodded, quiet. Her mom teared up and said, "We just want to keep seeing the kids." I told her gently, "That's not up to me anymore. You'll have to ask them yourselves." Zoe never returned their call. Dylan told me he blocked their number. Sometimes it's not about punishment. It's about setting a boundary and not crossing back over it, no matter who's waiting on the other side. What caught me off guard most was how fast Rachel started to unravel once everything became official. She'd been so sure of herself in the beginning, like she thought I'd cool off, come around. But once that final stack of court documents hit her doorstep with the judge's seal, something in her shifted. The calls stopped. The tears dried up. It was like reality had finally caught up to her. She started coming home later and later, like the silence in the house was too much for her to sit with. A neighbor mentioned seeing her pacing the block some nights, walking in circles like she was trying to make sense of something she couldn't undo. I didn't ask, didn't text, didn't call. The last thing we ever spoke about before the final hearing was the pets. We didn't have many, just Murphy, our old cat who mostly napped in sunbeams, and a parakeet she'd bought to brighten up the sunroom. I told her she could keep them both. Murphy liked her better anyway. 2 weeks after everything was finalized, I moved into a condo on the edge of town, nothing fancy, just a 2-bedroom tucked behind a row of pines. 1 bath, a small kitchen, and a little back patio where I could set up my grill. It wasn't much, but it was mine. That first night, I only unpacked what I needed: coffee pot, cast iron skillet, a few clothes, toothbrush. I ate takeout straight from the container, sitting on the living room floor, just listening. The fridge hummed quietly. Somewhere outside, a dog barked. But the silence? This time it wasn't heavy. It was clean. It felt good. I started fixing the place up little by little. Hung up a photo of me and my dad holding a striped bass from back in the 90s. Brought in my fishing gear. Found a good recliner at a second-hand shop and a small bookshelf to hold the westerns and old hunting guides I'd kept all these years. The condo didn't need to impress anyone. It just had to feel like me. Sundays turned into my favorite kind of routine. I'd get up early, make a stack of pancakes, then roll out my toolbox and tinker. Got back into restoring old trucks, something I used to love before life got loud and complicated. Picked up a '81 Dodge Ram, rusty wheel wells, busted ignition, and a whole lot of potential. Spent my weekends under the hood, wiping grease on a rag, classic rock buzzing through the garage speaker. It felt good to work with my hands again, even if it was slow, even if nobody saw it but me. I fished more too. Mostly solo trips out to the lake. Took the boat out before sunrise when the water was still and the air had that early bite. Some mornings I didn't catch a thing, and it didn't matter. Just standing there, rod in hand, line flicking across the surface, that was enough. That was peace. The first few weeks were quiet. I didn't see many people besides the neighbors waving from their porches or the cashier down at the hardware store. But I wasn't lonely. Just adjusting, like a man learning to walk again after years of limping. Then one Saturday afternoon I made a trip to the Pinebrook Library. I was looking for a book on engine tuning, something old school. The parts guy at the shop mentioned they might still have a manual from back in the day. Didn't expect much. Figured it was a long shot. That's when I met Elise. She was working behind the front desk, sorting a cart of returned books. Late 30s, maybe early 40s. Short dark hair. Silver glasses. Had that look like she didn't put up with much but probably found a lot of it amusing. I asked her about the manual. She gave me a look like I'd just asked for instructions on building a telegraph. Did you time travel here from 1978? She smirked. I laughed. Nah, just fixing up an old truck. She didn't say anything. Just turned and walked off. Came back 2 minutes later with the exact book I needed, dust and all. I'll allow it, she said, sliding the book across the counter with a playful smirk. But only because it's a Ford. If you'd said Chevy, I'd have turned you away on principle. That was the first time I'd laughed in what felt like weeks. There was just something about her. She didn't feel heavy or complicated. She felt easy, not fake, not forced, just simple like a breeze on a hot day. I saw her again the next week. This time I brought the manual back early and asked if she could recommend a good mystery novel. She raised an eyebrow and said, "Is that your idea of a pickup line, or are you genuinely trying to expand your literary tastes?" I grinned. A little of both. She chuckled and let me check the book out anyway. From there, it just happened naturally. Coffee here, lunch there. And then one Friday night, we found ourselves in a booth at this little burger joint off Ridgeway Highway. Neon sign flickering overhead, a plate of onion rings between us, and a chocolate milkshake sweating on the table. She pulled out a tiny travel chess set from her bag, of all things. Said it kept her mind sharp. I hadn't played in years, but that didn't bother her. She beat me in 22 moves and smiled the whole way through. I didn't mind losing. Not to her. Elise never pried. She didn't dig into my past or push for the whole story. When I wanted to talk, she listened. And when I didn't, she let the silence fill the space. No pressure. No angles. Just two people trying to make sense of life again, one piece at a time. We kept it slow. No rushing. No expectations. Some weekends we'd hit the foothills for a few hours of hiking, just us and the trees, swapping stories, pausing at overlooks to breathe in the view. Other times we'd hang out on my patio, grilling bratwursts and talking about everything from engine rebuilds to Zoe Dickinson. She worked with kids during the week, ran reading programs, helped teens with college applications. She didn't brag about it, just carried it with a kind of quiet pride. It was the first time in years I felt like someone actually saw me. Not the version of me that held everything together. Not the husband, the fixer, the man who stayed silent to keep the peace. Just me. And the more time I spent with her, the more I started to feel like myself again. The pain didn't just vanish. There were still moments that stung, those habits that hadn't faded yet. I'd start to text Rachel something out of pure muscle memory, then stop cold. I'd drive past our old place and feel that familiar ache in my chest. But slowly, it hurt less. Healing doesn't happen in grand gestures. It comes in quiet moments. Losing a chess game and laughing anyway. Hearing someone joke about your busted boots and laughing so hard your ribs hurt. That's where I was rebuilding my life, one steady brick at a time. 6 months passed since the divorce was finalized. 6 months of quiet mornings, meals without tension, drives without second-guessing. Elise and I had found a rhythm, comfortable, unhurried, real. That night, we were out at this Lantern House grill. White tablecloths, soft jazz, the kind of place where time moves slower. I traded in my usual flannel for a button-down. Elise wore this navy blue dress I'd only seen twice before, with a silver bracelet that caught the light just right. We just finished our steaks, mine medium, hers rare, and were on our second round of drinks when I saw her. Rachel. She walked in wearing a tan coat and burgundy blouse, her hair pulled back tight, heels clicking against the hardwood. At first, she didn't see us. She was smiling, chatting with someone near the host stand. But the second her gaze swept the room and landed on our table, on me, that smile faded like smoke. She looked older. Not just in the face. It was in the way she held herself. Her shoulders didn't sit quite as high. Her steps didn't carry the same certainty. Elise hadn't noticed her yet. She was in the middle of telling me a story from the Pinebrook Library, something about a toddler stacking books taller than himself. I was smiling at her when I felt the change. That subtle shift in the air. Like a shadow creeping in from the past. Rachel started walking toward us. I didn't move. Didn't flinch. Just sat there, waiting. She stopped beside our table, her eyes flicking between us. "Hi," she said softly. Her voice wasn't what I remembered. Smaller somehow. I looked up at her. "Evening." She gave Elise an awkward little smile before turning back to me. "Can we talk?" she asked. "Just one more chance. Please." Elise looked at me. Calm. Composed. She didn't flinch either. Just waited for me to respond. I turned back to Rachel. Met her eyes. "Lady," I said, quiet and steady, "I don't know who you are." And I meant every word. Because the woman I married? The one I built a life with? She disappeared a long time ago. What stood in front of me now was a stranger wearing her face. Rachel's mouth opened slightly like she wanted to say something. But nothing came out. Just a small, broken nod. Maybe she understood. Maybe she didn't. Didn't really matter anymore. She turned and walked out, her heels fading down the hall without another word. I sat back, picked up my napkin, and turned to Elise. "You feel like dessert?" I asked. Elise smiled, leaned back just a little. "Let's split something," she said. "Surprise me." I caught the waiter's eye, asked for the dessert menu, and just like that we moved on. No scenes. No dramatic farewells. No last-minute pleas for redemption. Just the kind of quiet, clean ending a man gets when he finally stops looking backward and starts walking forward with both feet. The door clicked shut behind Rachel. And I never looked back. Now it's your turn, drop a comment below. Was it too harsh to serve the papers on her birthday? Or was it the kind of truth she needed to face? If this story hit you somewhere deep, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stick around. More stories like this, raw, real, and honest, are coming your way. Thanks for listening.